The midnight mystery dinner begins when Serena reluctantly attends a blind dinner with a stranger and ends up sharing the evening with a man who changes everything. But what happens when her mystery date turns out to be a billionaire? Before we get into the story, comment below where in the world you are watching from today. Serena James stared at the phone in her hand, convinced it was some kind of prank. The woman on the other end was still talking, something about a dress code and arrival instructions. "Miss James? Are you still there?" the woman asked. "Yes, sorry," Serena replied, tucking a strand of her chestnut hair behind her ear. I don't remember entering any contest." "Your name was submitted by Amanda Wilson. She listed herself as your best friend." Serena closed her eyes and sighed. Of course Amanda would do this. Ever since her divorce 2 years ago, Amanda had been on a mission to fix Serena's love life. The midnight mystery dinner will be this Friday at 7 p.m. You've been selected as our winner. One private candlelit dinner with a hand-picked mystery guest. No phones, no press, no expectations, just conversation. "Look, I appreciate it, but I'm not really interested in—" "Miss James, this is an exclusive opportunity. The LaRue restaurant is celebrating its 20th anniversary with this one-time event. Many would consider it the chance of a lifetime." Serena glanced around her small apartment. Bills were stacked on the coffee table, and her night school textbooks were spread across the couch. At 35, this wasn't where she'd imagined she'd be, working at a bookstore during the day and taking business classes at night, trying to rebuild her life. "Fine," she finally said. "What do I need to do?" "Just arrive at 7 p.m. Dress however you'd like. Remember, no phones. And most importantly, just be yourself." "Who else would I be?" Serena muttered after hanging up. Amanda shrieked when Serena told her the news over lunch the next day at the cafe across from Turning Pages, the bookstore where Serena worked. "I can't believe you won. This is fate, Serena." Amanda clapped her, hands together. "What are you going to wear?" "I don't know. I'm still not sure I'm even going." Serena picked at her salad. "It sounds ridiculous, some mystery stranger picked just for me. It's probably some publicity stunt. It's romance. It's adventure. When was the last time you did something spontaneous?" Serena couldn't answer that. Spontaneity had disappeared from her life after the divorce, along with her confidence and most of her savings. "Maybe it's some creep," Serena argued. "It's at LaRue. That place has 5 stars and a waiting list 3 months long. They're not going to set you up with a creep." Amanda leaned forward. "Promise me you'll go. If it's terrible, you never have." "To listen to me again," Serena raised an eyebrow. "Never." "Well, for at least a week." Amanda grinned. Friday evening arrived faster than Serena wanted. She stood in front of her closet, feeling ridiculous for caring what to wear. She finally settled on a simple navy blue dress. Nothing too fancy, but nice enough for LaRue. As she applied a light touch of makeup, she tried to ignore the nervous flutter in her stomach. This wasn't a date. It was just a free dinner. Nothing more. The taxi dropped her off at LaRue precisely at 7 p.m. The hostess, a tall woman with a knowing smile, greeted her immediately. "Miss James, welcome, please follow me." Instead of leading her to the main dining room, the hostess guided her through a private door and down a hallway. They stopped at a door marked "Private Dining." "Your evening awaits," the hostess said. Opening the door, the room was beautiful, small and intimate, with a single table in the center. Candles flickered from every surface, casting a warm glow. A large window overlooked the city lights, and at the table, already seated, was a man. He stood as she entered. He was tall, with dark hair that curled slightly at the temples. He wore a simple navy button-down shirt, coincidentally the same shade as her dress, and dark slacks. No tie, no flashy watch. He looked normal. Handsome, certainly, but in an understated way. What caught her attention were his eyes. They were deep brown and somehow sad, even when he smiled, and his hands resting on the table were completely still. No nervous tapping or fidgeting. "Hello," he said simply, his voice low and warm. "Hi," Serena replied, suddenly wishing she'd worn something more impressive. "I'm no names," the hostess gently reminded her. "That's part of the mystery. Enjoy your evening." With that, she closed the door, leaving them alone. The man gestured to the chair across from him. "Please, Serena sat down, feeling oddly formal. So, I guess we're supposed to have dinner together. The man's face relaxed into a genuine smile. That was my understanding as well. Although I admit, I don't usually participate in these types of events. Me neither. My friend entered my name without telling me. He raised an eyebrow. Sounds like an interesting friend. She means well. She thinks my life needs more excitement. And, does it? Serena considered this as a waiter entered with 2 glasses of champagne. Maybe, but probably not the kind she has in mind. The man raised his glass. 2 unexpected evenings, then. They clinked glasses and Serena took a sip. The champagne was exquisite, probably the most expensive she'd ever tasted. This whole situation felt surreal. So, she said, setting down her glass. How does this work? Are we supposed to play 20 questions or something? The man chuckled. I think we just talk, like normal people at a dinner. Normal people usually know each other's names. True, but maybe there's something nice about the anonymity, no preconceptions. Serena found herself relaxing as the first course arrived. Delicate salad with ingredients she couldn't even name. So what do normal people talk about at dinner? Work, usually, though that tends to be boring. Depends on the work, Serena said, taking a bite. I work at a bookstore, turning pages. Not very glamorous, but I love it. His eyes lit up. I love bookstores. There's something magical about them. Magical is one word for it. In need of repairs is another. We have a leaky ceiling that's been driving us crazy. Every time it rains, we have to rearrange all the display tables. He leaned forward slightly. But you still love it? I do. There's this moment when you help someone find exactly the right book, and their whole face changes, like you've handed them exactly what they needed without them even knowing it. Serena blushed, realizing she was rambling. Sorry, that sounds silly. Not at all, he said quietly. It sounds perfect. The main course arrived. Tender steak for him, salmon for her. As they ate, Serena found herself telling him about her favorite parts of the job. The children who came in for story time, the old love notes and photos she sometimes found tucked inside used books, the regular customers whose reading preferences she knew by heart. There's this one older gentleman who comes in every Tuesday looking for travel books, she said. He's never left the country, but he's traveled everywhere through books. What about you? He asked. Where would you go if you could go anywhere? Serena thought about it. I don't need anything exotic. I've always wanted to take a train trip across the country, just watch America go by outside the window, but I've never been able to justify the time or the expense. That sounds wonderful, he said, and she could tell he meant it. There was something about the way he listened, intensely, without interruption, like her words mattered. As they finished dessert, a chocolate creation that made Serena close her eyes in bliss, she realized they'd been talking for hours, and she'd done most of the talking. I've been monopolizing the conversation, she said. Your turn, what do you do? Something flickered in his eyes. Hesitation, perhaps. Then he smiled slightly and said, Nothing worth talking about tonight. Oddly, she wasn't offended. There was no arrogance in his tone, just a genuine desire to keep the focus elsewhere. Fair enough, she said, but I hope it's something you enjoy. It used to be, he replied, his voice softer. I'm trying to find my way back to that. The evening wound down with coffee. Serena couldn't remember the last time she'd felt so comfortable with someone, especially a stranger. There was none of the awkwardness of a first date, none of the pressure to impress, just conversation that flowed easily, punctuated by comfortable silences. When the waiter announced that the car was waiting whenever they were ready, Serena felt a pang of disappointment. I suppose that's our cue, the man said, standing. Serena stood as well. Thank you for a lovely evening. This was not what I expected. In a good way, I hope. Definitely. They walked to the door together. Before opening it, he turned to her. I've enjoyed this more than any dinner in recent memory, he said, his voice low. Thank you for that. It was just dinner, Serena said, suddenly shy. No, he replied, his eyes holding hers. It was much more than that. Outside, 2 cars waited. The hostess appeared to escort them separately. Goodbye, Serena said, feeling strangely sad. "Goodbye," he replied, and for a moment she thought he might say more. But then he simply nodded and turned toward his car. As her car pulled away, Serena glanced back to catch one last glimpse of him. He was standing still, watching her go, his expression unreadable in the darkness. It was a lovely fantasy, she told herself, a one-time adventure. By morning, it would seem like a dream. She had no idea how wrong she was. The next morning, Serena tried to push thoughts of the mystery dinner out of her mind. Saturday was always busy at turning pages, and she needed to focus. Still, she found herself smiling at random moments, remembering fragments of their conversation. "Earth to Serena," Amanda said, waving a hand in front of her face. She had stopped by the bookstore, eager for details. "You've been arranging those same books for 10 minutes. Spill it. How was the dinner?" "It was nice," Serena admitted, moving behind the counter. "Nice, that's all I get. I need details. Was he handsome, rich? Did you get his number? We weren't supposed to exchange information. That was the whole point of the mystery part." Serena rang up a customer's purchases. But yes, he was handsome in a quiet way. "And? Did you talk? Was there a connection?" Serena hesitated. "We talked for hours, actually. He was different. He listened. Really listened." Amanda squealed, drawing looks from nearby customers. "I knew it! This is fate!" "It was one dinner, Amanda, a nice evening that's now over." Serena straightened a stack of bookmarks. "Besides, even if I wanted to see him again, which I don't know his name or how to contact him." "If it's meant to be, he'll find you," Amanda said with a romantic sigh. Serena rolled her eyes. "This isn't one of your romance novels." The bell above the door chimed as a delivery man entered carrying a package. "Delivery for Serena James?" Serena frowned. "That's me." She signed for the package, a rectangular shape wrapped in brown paper. "No return address. Secret admirer." Amanda raised her eyebrows suggestively. "Probably just that order of vintage bookmarks I placed last month," Serena said, though her heart was beating faster as she carefully unwrapped the package. Inside was a book, an old leather-bound edition of The Secret Garden. Serena gasped softly. It was her favorite childhood book. But this wasn't just any copy. It was a rare first edition, something she could never afford. "Oh my God," Amanda breathed, looking over her shoulder. "Open it." With trembling fingers, Serena opened the cover. Inside was a small cream-colored card with handwritten words. "For the woman who reminded me that silence can be golden, LL." Amanda practically shouted, "It's him, your mystery dinner date." Serena stared at the note, her mind racing. How did he know? She had mentioned The Secret Garden briefly during dinner when they were discussing childhood books that had shaped them, but she never expected this. "This must have cost a fortune," she whispered, running her fingers over the embossed cover. "Serena, this is not just a thank you gift. This is a man who wants to see you again. Then why didn't he just ask, or include his number?" Serena carefully placed the book on the counter. "Maybe this is just his way of saying goodbye nicely." Amanda threw up her hands in frustration. "You are impossible. The man sends you a priceless first edition of your favorite book, and you think it's a goodbye." Before Serena could respond, the bell above the door chimed again. She looked up, and her heart stopped. There he was, the man from dinner. In person, in daylight, he was even more handsome than she remembered. He was dressed casually in jeans and a grey sweater, holding 2 coffee cups. His eyes found hers immediately, and a small smile touched his lips. "Hello," he said simply. Serena was speechless. Amanda looked between them, eyes wide. "Oh my God," she grabbed her purse. "I just remembered I have somewhere to be right now. Bye." She practically ran out the door, giving Serena a not-so-subtle thumbs up on her way out. The man, L, she supposed, approached the counter. "I hope I'm not interrupting your work," Serena found her voice. "No, I mean yes, but it's okay." She gestured to the book. "Thank you for this. It's too much. You said it was the book that made you fall in love with reading." He held out one of the coffee cups. "I got you coffee." "I hope that's not too presumptuous." She accepted the cup, their fingers brushing. "How did you find me?" "You mentioned where you worked. Turning pages. You said it was on Maple Street. He looked slightly embarrassed. I hope it's okay that I came. It's okay, she said, surprised to find she meant it. But I don't understand. The whole dinner was supposed to be anonymous, one night only. It was, he agreed, but I couldn't stop thinking about our conversation. He hesitated. Would you have dinner with me again? This time, not as strangers. Serena felt a flutter in her stomach. I don't even know your name. Lucas, he said. Lucas Vale. The name sounded vaguely familiar, but Serena couldn't place it. I'm Serena James. Serena, he repeated, as if testing the name. It suits you. Their customer approached the counter, and Serena reluctantly turned to help them. Lucas stepped aside, browsing the nearby shelves while he waited. She noticed he seemed perfectly content, patient, not checking the time or looking annoyed by the wait. When the customer left, he returned to the counter. I understand if you're busy. I should have called ahead. You don't have my number, she pointed out. True, he smiled. I could rectify that. Serena surprised herself by reaching for a pen and writing her number on a turning page's bookmark. I get off at 6. His smile widened. 6 it is. After he left, Serena stood looking at the door for a long moment. What was she doing? She knew nothing about this man except his name. And yet, she felt like she'd known him for years. Lucas arrived at exactly 6 o'clock, just as Serena was locking up. This time, there was no fancy restaurant, no candlelight, just a walk through the park, followed by dinner at a small Italian restaurant. How was the rest of your day? He asked as they strolled along the park path, street lamps flickering on as dusk settled around them. Busy. Saturdays usually are. She glanced at him. What about you? What does Lucas Vale do on a Saturday? He hesitated just as he had at dinner when she'd asked about his work. Today I had meetings, phone calls, nothing interesting. So you work weekends? What kind of job requires that? The demanding kind, he said with a small smile. But tonight isn't about work, Serena would normally press, curious about his reluctance to discuss his job. But something in his expression made her hold back. Fair enough. Tonight is about getting to know each other. And they did. Over pasta and wine, they talked about their favorite books, movies, places they'd visited. Lucas spoke about growing up with an older brother who always overshadowed him, about losing his parents young, about his love of sailing. But he still skirted around anything to do with his present life, his job, where he lived, his friends. You're very mysterious, Lucas Vale, Serena said as they shared tiramisu. Am I? You know everything about me, where I work, what I study, my bitter divorce story. But you're still mostly a blank page. Lucas set down his fork. Sometimes it's nice to be a blank page, to be seen for who you are in the moment, not for... He trailed off. Not for what? She prompted. Not for what others expect you to be. He reached across the table, his fingers lightly touching hers. With you, I'm just Lucas. That's rare for me. The way he said it sent a shiver through her. There was an intensity in his eyes, a vulnerability that tugged at her heart. Well, just Lucas seems pretty great to me, she said softly. His smile was worth any lingering questions she had. Over the next 2 weeks, Lucas became a regular fixture in Serena's life. He'd show up at the bookstore with coffee. They'd take walks, have dinner, talk for hours. Once they spent an entire Sunday at a small art museum, where Lucas surprised her with his knowledge of obscure painters. Yet he remained careful about personal details. He never invited her to his home, always meeting her in public places. He never took phone calls when they were together, and he always steered conversations away from his work. Serena told herself it didn't matter. She was falling for the man, in front of her, the one who remembered every detail she shared, who made her laugh, who looked at her like she was the only person in the world. Amanda, of course, had other ideas. Google him, she insisted when they met for lunch. Lucas Vale can't be that common a name. I'm not going to snoop, Serena protested. When he's ready to share more, he will. Or he's married, Amanda said darkly. Or a criminal. Or both. He's not married, Serena said confidently, and he's definitely not a criminal. How can you be sure? Men have secrets, Serena. Big ones. Despite her protests, Amanda's words planted a seed of doubt. That night, after Lucas dropped her off at her apartment with a gentle kiss, "Good night," Serena sat at her computer and typed his name into the search bar. Her jaw dropped as the results loaded. Lucas Vale, tech billionaire and founder of Valex, makes rare appearance at charity gala, read one headline. There was his face in a tuxedo, looking uncomfortable in front of cameras. Valsine CEO Lucas Vale declines Forbes cover for third year, said another. Article after article described Lucas as a tech genius who'd built one of the most successful companies in the world, yet was famously private, rarely giving interviews, and avoiding publicity. Serena sat back, stunned. Lucas wasn't just wealthy, he was one of the richest men in the country. And he hadn't said a word about it. She thought about their time together, how he always paid in cash, how he never mentioned his home, how he seemed completely unfazed by the cost of the rare book he'd given her. Her phone chimed with a text from Lucas. "Thinking of you. Sleep well." Serena stared at the message, a mixture of emotions swirling through her. Why hadn't he told her? Did he think she'd treat him differently? Or was he just playing some game, slumming it with a bookstore clerk for amusement? No, she couldn't believe that. The connection between them was real. She'd felt it from the first. With trembling fingers, she typed back, "Sweet dreams." Then she closed her laptop, torn between the Lucas she knew and the Lucas Vale the world saw, and wondering if they were the same person at all. The next day, Lucas surprised her with tickets to a Broadway show she'd mentioned wanting to see. As they settled into their seats, the best in the house naturally, Serena couldn't help studying him more closely. Did he seem different now that she knew? Or was it just her perception that had changed? "Is something wrong?" he asked, noticing her stare. "No," she lied. "Everything's perfect," and for a few hours it was. They lost themselves in the music, the story, the magic of live theater. When Lucas took her hand in the darkness, she felt that familiar spark, that connection that had been there from the start. After the show, they walked to a small cafe for dessert. Lucas was animated, discussing the performance, his eyes bright with genuine enjoyment. This was the man she was falling for. Thoughtful, passionate, present. "Serena," he said suddenly, reaching for her hand across the table, "these past weeks have been the happiest I've had in years. Being with you is like..." He searched for words. "Like finding something I didn't know I was missing." Her heart melted, even as her mind raced with questions. "I feel the same way," she admitted. "I want you to come sailing with me this weekend," he said. "There's a place up the coast. It's special to me. I'd like to share it with you." This was it, she thought. He was finally opening up, inviting her into his real life. "I'd love that," she said. His smile was radiant. He leaned across the table and kissed her softly, right there in the cafe. Neither of them noticed the flash of a camera from outside the window. Serena woke up Thursday morning to her phone buzzing frantically. She groggily reached for it, surprised, to see a dozen missed calls and texts from Amanda. "Call me now," the latest text read. Before she could dial, another call came through. "Amanda again. Have you seen it?" Amanda's voice was high-pitched with excitement. "Seen what?" Serena mumbled, still half asleep. "Oh my God, you don't know. Turn on your computer right now." Serena reluctantly got out of bed and opened her laptop. "What am I looking for?" "Just go to any news site. Entertainment section." Serena clicked on a popular news website and her blood ran cold. There on the homepage was a photo of her and Lucas kissing in the cafe under the headline, "Tech billionaire Lucas Vale's mystery woman revealed." "Oh no," she whispered. "Oh yes," Amanda squealed. "Serena, you're dating Lucas Vale, the Lucas Vale creator of Valex. Worth billions with a B, why didn't you tell me?" "I just found out myself," Serena admitted, scrolling through the article in horror. "I Googled him a couple days ago. And you didn't tell me? Some best friend you are." "I was processing it. We're supposed to go sailing this weekend. I thought maybe he'd explain everything then." "Well, now the whole world knows. There are already follow-up articles trying to figure out who you are." "The bookstore Cinderella! They're calling you." Serena felt sick. The article had details about her, where she worked, that she was taking night classes, even mentioned her divorce. How had they found all that so quickly? "This is a nightmare," she groaned. "Are you kidding? It's a dream come true. You're dating one of the most eligible bachelors in America. No, I'm dating Lucas, just Lucas. The guy who brings me coffee and talks about books. This is... Serena couldn't finish the sentence. Her phone beeped with an incoming call. Lucas. It's him, she told Amanda. I have to go. Call me back with every detail, Amanda demanded before hanging up. Serena took a deep breath and answered. Hello? Serena. Lucas's voice was tight with tension. I'm so sorry, I just saw the news. It's, pretty overwhelming, she said, understating how she truly felt. I know. This is exactly what I didn't want to happen. He sounded genuinely distressed. Are you okay? Have reporters contacted you? As if on cue, Serena's phone beeped with another incoming call from an unknown number. They're trying to, she said. Don't answer any calls you don't recognize, he said urgently. Don't talk to anyone. I'm sending a car to pick you up in 30 minutes. Pack a bag for the weekend. We'll leave for the coast today instead of tomorrow. Lucas, I can't just leave. I have work. Please, Serena. I need to explain everything, and I can't do it while you're being hounded by the press. She hesitated, then relented. Okay, 30 minutes. After hanging up, Serena moved on autopilot. She called her manager at the bookstore, making up a family. Emergency. She packed a small suitcase. She ignored the continuing calls and texts flooding her phone. Exactly 30 minutes later, a sleek black car with tinted windows pulled up outside her apartment. The driver, a professional-looking woman in a suit, helped with her bag. Mr. Vale is waiting for you at the marina, she explained as they drove. He apologizes for not coming himself, but he thought it might attract more attention. Serena nodded, watching the city pass by outside the window. Her emotions were a tangled mess. Part of her was hurt that Lucas had hidden such a huge part of his life from her. Another part understood his desire for privacy. And yet another part was simply terrified of the sudden public exposure. The car eventually pulled into a private marina. At the end of a dock stood Lucas, looking tense as he scanned the parking lot for her arrival. When he spotted the car, his shoulders visibly relaxed. He rushed to open her door when they stopped. Thank you for coming, he said, helping her out. Up. Close, she could see the strain on his face. He looked like he hadn't slept. Are you okay? She asked automatically. He gave a surprised laugh. I should be asking you that. Your life just got turned upside down because of me. It's not your fault some photographer took our picture. Lucas took her hand, guiding her toward the dock. Actually, this is exactly what happens in my life, which is why I should have been more careful, or more honest with you from the beginning. They stopped beside a beautiful sailboat, not a massive yacht as she might have expected, but an elegant vessel about 40 feet long. This is yours? She asked. Yes, the Serenity, one of the few things I truly enjoy. He helped her aboard. We should get going. There are already photographers watching the marina. Sure enough, Serena could see people with cameras gathering at the entrance, kept at bay by security guards. Lucas was skillful and confident as he prepared the boat to sail, checking equipment and untying lines. Serena stayed out of the way, watching him work. This was yet another side of him she hadn't seen before. Competent, commanding, completely in his element. Once they were away from the marina and out on open water, the tension in Lucas's body began to ease. The wind caught the sails and the boat glided smoothly across the water. The coastline receded behind them. Better? Serena asked, joining him at the wheel. Much. He gave her a hesitant smile. How about you? Still processing. She looked out at the endless blue of the ocean. It's beautiful out here. This is where I come to escape, Lucas said. On the water, I'm not Lucas Vale, Billionaire CEO. I'm just a man with a boat. Serena studied his profile. Is that why you didn't tell me? Because you wanted to be just a man? Lucas sighed deeply. Partly, but it's more complicated than that. He adjusted their course slightly. I've had bad experiences. People who were interested in what I could do for them, not who I was. You thought I'd be like that? No, he said quickly. From that first dinner I knew you were different. You had no idea who I was, and you treated me like a normal person. You teased me. You talked about leaky bookstore ceilings and used books with love notes inside. You were real, so why keep lying? I wasn't lying exactly, just admitting, and then the longer I waited to tell you, the harder it became. He looked at her directly. I was afraid of losing what we had, that perfect bubble where I was just Lucas and you were just Serena. Serena understood that, but it still hurt. You could have trusted me. I know that now. He reached for her hand. I'm sorry, truly. They sailed in silence for a while, each lost in thought. Eventually, Lucas showed her how to help with the boat, teaching her to adjust lines and explaining how the sails worked. Despite everything, Serena found herself enjoying the experience. The fresh air, the peaceful rocking of the boat, the simple joy of learning something new. By late afternoon, they reached a secluded cove. Lucas dropped anchor in the sheltered waters. We'll stay here tonight, he explained. There's a little town nearby where we can have dinner, but it's off-season, so it should be quiet. No paparazzi. The town was indeed charming and peaceful, a collection of weathered buildings facing the sea, with a single main street lined with small shops and restaurants. They ate at a cozy seafood place where no one gave them a second glance. See? Lucas said over dessert. Normal life is still possible. Maybe here, Serena replied. But what about when we go back? You said yourself, this is what happens in your life. Photographers, headlines, people digging into my past. Lucas looked troubled. I can help with security. Make sure you're protected. That's not the point, Serena interrupted. The point is that you let me fall in love with a version of you that wasn't complete. And now I don't know if I still see you in the man the world sees. The words hung between them, heavy with truth. Lucas's face fell. The man you know is the real me, he said quietly. More real than the person in those articles and photographs. That's what I've been trying to tell you. I want to believe that, Serena said, but you have to understand. This is all overwhelming. Yesterday I was dating a guy I really liked who was mysterious about his job. Today I'm being called Bookstore Cinderella in the tabloids, and I find out you're famous enough to have security guards and people following you with cameras. What can I do? He asked, looking genuinely lost. Tell me what you need and I'll do it. I need time, she said honestly. Time to figure out if what we have is strong enough to withstand all this. Lucas nodded solemnly. I understand. They walked back to the boat in silence. The night was clear. Stars sprinkled across the sky in a dazzling display impossible to see in the city. On the boat, Lucas showed her to the main cabin. You can sleep here. I'll take the smaller berth. Thank you, Serena said, suddenly exhausted by the emotional day. Serena, he said, pausing at the door. For what it's worth, I'm falling in love with you too. Not because you don't know who I am, but because when I'm with you, I remember who I want to be. With that, he left her alone with her thoughts. The weekend passed in a strange limbo, beautiful moments on the water mixed with awkward silences and careful conversations. They visited small coastal towns, walked on nearly deserted beaches, and talked for hours. Lucas answered all her questions honestly, about his company, his wealth, his private life. He told her about the loneliness of success, the constant scrutiny, the inability to know if people liked him or what he represented. That's why the midnight mystery dinner appealed to me, he confessed as they walked along a windswept beach. My assistant thought it was ridiculous, but I liked the idea of meeting someone who had no preconceptions about me. So it wasn't random? You picked me specifically? Serena asked, surprised. Not exactly. I agreed to meet whoever won the contest, but when you walked in, he smiled at the memory. I knew immediately it was worth the risk. By Sunday afternoon, as they sailed back toward the city, Serena felt closer to understanding the full picture of who Lucas Vale was, the brilliant but lonely CEO, the passionate sailor, and the thoughtful man who remembered every detail of their conversations. But as the city skyline came into view, reality crashed back. Lucas's phone, which had been mostly silent all weekend, began buzzing constantly. My assistant, he explained after checking the messages. Apparently, there's been quite a media frenzy about us. Serena's stomach knotted with anxiety. How bad? Is it? Bad enough that I think we should be prepared before we dock. He hesitated. My driver will take you directly home. I've arranged for security at your apartment building for the next few days. Security? Is that really necessary? Unfortunately, Yes, at least until the story dies down. Lucas looked genuinely regretful. This is what I was afraid of. My life contaminating yours. When they reached the marina, Serena could see a crowd of photographers waiting behind barriers. Lucas's driver and 2 security guards stood ready. At the dock, "I'm so sorry about this," Lucas said as they prepared to disembark. "Remember, don't answer any questions. Just keep your head down and go straight to the car." Serena nodded, her heart pounding. Despite their precautions, the moment they stepped off the boat, the crowd erupted with shouts and camera flashes. "Lucas, over here. Serena, look this way. Are you two getting engaged? Is it true you met at a charity event?" The security guards formed a human shield around them, but the noise and flashes were overwhelming. Lucas kept a protective arm around Serena as they hurried toward the waiting car. Just before they reached it, Serena stumbled slightly. Lucas caught her, their faces close for a moment. More camera flashes exploded around them. Once safely in the car, Serena was shaking. "That was horrible." Lucas looked devastated. "I know, If you say sorry one more time, I might scream," she interrupted. "This isn't working, Lucas." "What do you mean?" "This." She gestured between them. "Us. Your world and mine. They don't fit together." "They can," he insisted. "We just need time to figure it out. Time during which my life is turned upside down. Where I need security guards to go to work. Where every customer at the bookstore is really there to get a glimpse of Bookstore Cinderella." She shook her head. "I can't live like that. Serena, please, the media circus will die down eventually. And then what? We pretend it never happened? Go back to our secret dinner dates and walks in the park?" She looked out the window at the passing city. "I fell for a man who brought me coffee and remembered my favorite childhood book. Not this." They rode in painful silence until the car stopped outside her apartment building. As promised, a security guard stood at the entrance. "Can I call you tomorrow?" Lucas asked, his voice raw with emotion. Serena paused, then shook her head. "I think we both need some space to figure out what we really want." "I know what I want," he said quietly. "You." Tears pricked at her eyes. "You're the first person who ever made me feel like more than a name. I didn't want to lose that." "You already did," she whispered, echoing his words. Then she got out of the car and walked away, not looking back to see the pain on his face as he watched her go. The next week was the longest of Serena's life. Returning to work was a nightmare. Customers came in just to stare at her, and reporters lingered outside, hoping for a statement. Her manager was understanding but concerned. "About the disruption. Maybe take some time off," he suggested gently, "until this blows over." So Serena found herself confined to her apartment, jumping whenever her phone rang, avoiding social media, and trying to ignore the occasional flash of cameras when she peeked through her blinds. Amanda came by with groceries and gossip magazines, which Serena refused to read. "You're all anyone is talking about," Amanda said, flipping through one magazine. "Look, they've done a whole spread on Lucas Vale's previous flames. Apparently he dated a French model last year, but it only lasted a month." "Please stop," Serena groaned from her position on the couch. Amanda studied her friend. "You miss him, don't you?" "I miss who I thought he was," Serena corrected. "Simple Lucas, who liked books and sailing and just talking." "He's still that person," Amanda pointed out, "just with a few $1 billion and some paparazzi problems." "A few billion changes everything," Serena argued. "How could we ever have a normal relationship? I'd always wonder if people were nice to me because of him. I'd never know if I accomplished anything on my own merit." "Sounds like you've given this a lot of thought. It's all I've been thinking about," Serena sighed. "Besides, it doesn't matter. I walked away." Amanda rolled her eyes. "And he just accepted that? Billionaires don't usually give up so easily. He's respected my space." Serena glanced at her phone. No calls, no texts. Amanda looked unconvinced. "Well, if you're really done with him, maybe it's time to get back out there. The business school mixer is next Friday. We could go together." Serena couldn't imagine dating anyone else, but she nodded anyway. "Maybe." After Amanda left, Serena tried to focus on her business school assignments, but her mind kept wandering to Lucas. Despite everything, she missed him, his quiet laugh. The way he listened like every word mattered. The feeling of complete connection she'd never had with anyone else. Several times, she picked up her phone to call him, but pride stopped her each time. He was probably already moving on, back to his billion-dollar life, where a bookstore clerk was just a brief diversion. By the following Monday, Serena felt ready to return to work. The photographers had mostly disappeared, and life was slowly returning to normal, or as normal as it could be when your face had been splashed across national tabloids. The bell above the bookstore door chimed as she organized a display of new releases. Without looking up, she said, "Welcome to Turning Pages. Let me know if you need help finding anything. Actually, I'm looking for something specific." Serena froze at the familiar voice. Slowly, she turned to find Lucas standing there, looking almost shy. He was dressed casually in jeans and a simple blue button-down, so different from the tuxedo-clad billionaire in the magazine photos. "Lucas," she managed, her heart racing. "What are you doing here?" "I miss you," he said simply. "Every day?" Serena glanced around nervously. "Are there photographers outside?" "No, I was careful." He took a step closer. "Serena, I know I messed up by not telling you the truth from the beginning. I know my life is complicated, but these past days without you have been miserable." "For me too," she admitted, before she could stop herself. Hope flickered in his eyes. "I've been thinking about what you said, about our worlds not fitting together. And maybe they don't, not perfectly. But I don't want my world if you're not in it." He reached for her hand. "I've spent years building a company, making money, trying to prove something, but nothing has made me happier than just sitting and talking with you." Serena's resolve was weakening. "Lucas, the craziness around us, it's already dying down." He interrupted. "Yesterday, some reality TV star got caught cheating and suddenly I'm old news." Despite herself, Serena smiled. "That's how it works, huh?" "Pretty much." His thumb traced circles on her palm. "I've made some changes too. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations at Valex, promoting my COO to handle more of the public-facing aspects." "You'd do that?" "I already have. I built the company because I loved creating technology that helps people. Somewhere along the way, it became about stock prices and market share." He squeezed her hand. "You reminded me what really matters." A customer approached the counter, and Serena reluctantly pulled away. "I need to help them." "I'll wait," Lucas said, moving to browse nearby shelves. After the customer left, Serena found Lucas examining her favorite section, classic literature. "I've been thinking too," she said. "About us." Lucas looked up, expression guarded yet hopeful. "I was scared," she continued, "not just of the cameras and attention, but of being swallowed up by your world, of losing myself. I would never want that." "I know. That's what I realized this week." She took a deep breath. "The man I fell for at that dinner, the one who listens, who remembers details, who values simple conversations, that's the real you. Not the CEO in the magazine articles." "It is," he agreed softly. "So maybe we could try again," she suggested. "Take it slowly. Figure out how to make our worlds fit together, piece by piece." The smile that spread across Lucas's face was radiant. "I'd like that." He reached into his pocket. "I brought you something. It was a small wrapped package." Serena opened it to find an old-fashioned train ticket. "You said your dream was to take a train trip across the country," Lucas explained. "To watch America go by outside the window, without worrying about the cost." Serena stared at the ticket, emotion welling up inside her. "It's for next month," he continued. "I thought maybe we could go together, just us. No phones, no work calls, just watching the scenery and talking." "Like our first dinner," she said, understanding the symmetry. "Exactly. No expectations. No pressure, just getting to know each other better." He looked suddenly uncertain. "Unless that's too much, too soon." Serena found herself smiling. "It's perfect." The train rocked gently as it cut through the heartland of America. Serena sat by the window in their private compartment, watching golden fields roll by. Lucas sat across from her, reading a book she'd recommended. 3 days into their journey, and it had been everything she'd dreamed of. Peaceful, beautiful, full of conversations that stretched for hours. They'd left the chaos of the city far behind. "Penny for your thoughts," Lucas said, setting down his book. "I was just thinking about how different this is from what I expected when Amanda signed me up for that contest." Lucas smiled. "Not what I expected either. Do you regret it? All the publicity, the complications?" "Not for a second." He moved to sit beside her, taking her hand. "What about you? Any regrets about the bookstore clerk meeting the billionaire?" "Only that we wasted time dancing around the truth." She rested her head on his shoulder. "I'm glad we're here now." The train whistle sounded as they approached a small town. Outside, children waved as the train passed. "You know," Lucas said thoughtfully, "I've been thinking about expanding Valex's educational foundation, creating programs to put more books in the hands of kids in rural areas." "That sounds wonderful. I was hoping you might help. Your knowledge of books, of what reaches people. It would be invaluable." Serena looked at him, surprised. "You're offering me a job?" "More like a partnership," he clarified. "Something meaningful you could build yourself, not because you're with me, but because you're exactly the right person for it." For the first time, Serena could see how their worlds might blend rather than clash, her passion for books and his resources coming together to create something valuable. "I'd like that," she said. "As long as I can still keep my bookstore shift sometimes, I'd miss the regular customers." Lucas smiled. "Whatever makes you happy." They fell silent, watching the landscape change as the sun began to set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. "It's beautiful," Serena murmured. "Yes, it is," Lucas agreed, but he wasn't looking at the sunset. He was looking at her. 6 months later, Serena stood nervously in the private dining room of La Rue restaurant, the same room where she'd first met Lucas, though this time there were a few more candles and a small bouquet of wildflowers on the table. The door opened and Lucas entered, looking as handsome as he had that first night, but with one significant difference. Now his eyes held joy rather than sadness, and his hands moved expressively as he spoke. "Sorry I'm late," he said, kissing her cheek. "The board meeting ran long." "Important decisions?" she asked as they sat down, finalizing the funding for the Rural Reading Initiative. He grinned. "Your proposal impressed everyone." Serena's heart swelled with pride. The initiative had been her project for the past 3 months, a program to bring mobile libraries and reading workshops to underserved communities. It was challenging, meaningful work that had nothing to do with being Lucas Vale's girlfriend and everything to do with her own abilities. "I can't wait to get started with the first town next month," she said. "About that?" Lucas looked suddenly nervous. "I was thinking we might need to adjust the timeline." "Why? Is there a problem?" "No, not a problem." He reached across the table, taking her hand. "But I was hoping you might be busy with something else for a few weeks after the launch." "Like what?" Lucas took a deep breath. "Like a honeymoon. If you want?" Serena's eyes widened as he pulled a small velvet box from his pocket. "I was going to wait until after dinner," he said, "but I can't seem to stick to plans when I'm around you." He opened the box to reveal a simple but elegant diamond ring. "Serena James, you walked into this room 8 months ago and changed my life. You saw me, just me, when no one else did. You challenged me, surprised me, and made me happier than I've ever been." Tears filled Serena's eyes as Lucas continued. "I don't care about merging our worlds anymore. I just want to build a new one together." He moved to kneel beside her chair. "Will you marry me?" Serena's hands trembled as she cupped his face. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes." As they sealed the moment with a kiss, Serena marveled at how differently this room felt now compared to their first meeting. Same candles, same table, but now filled with certainty rather than mystery, with love rather than caution. Outside, the city continued its busy rhythm. Inside, in the quiet of the private dining room, Serena and Lucas began writing the next chapter of their story, one not defined by fairy tale endings or tabloid headlines, but by the simple truth they'd discovered that first night. That the most valuable thing in a world of wealth and status was someone who saw you for exactly who you were. The wedding was small and private, held on Lucas's sailboat at sunset, with just their closest friends and family. No photographers, no press release, just a celebration of what they'd found together. Amanda, of course, took full credit for everything. "If I hadn't entered your name in that contest, none of this would have happened," she reminded Serena as they prepared in the cabin below deck. "True," Serena admitted, adjusting her simple white dress. "I guess I owe you. Lifetime babysitting duties for my future nieces and nephews will be payment enough," Amanda declared. Serena laughed, then grew serious. "Do you think we're crazy, getting married after less than a year?" "I think when you know, you know." Amanda squeezed her hand. "And girl, you two definitely know." Above deck, guests were gathering. Through the small window, Serena could see Lucas speaking with the captain, looking handsome and surprisingly relaxed in his light grey suit. No tie, no pretense, just Lucas, the man she loved. The past months hadn't been perfect. There were still occasional paparazzi photos, curious strangers, and the complex dynamics of navigating his corporate world. But they'd found their rhythm, carving out space for quiet dinners at home, weekend sailing trips, and long conversations about books, dreams, and plans for the future. The Rural Reading Initiative was flourishing under Serena's direction, giving her purpose independent of her relationship with Lucas. And Lucas had found renewed passion for his work, focusing on innovation rather than expansion, guided by Serena's grounding presence. "It's time," Amanda said, breaking into her thoughts. Serena took a deep breath and climbed the stairs to the deck. The setting sun cast a golden glow over everything, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of salt water and flowers. As she walked toward Lucas, their eyes locked, and she felt the same connection that had sparked during their first dinner, that rare feeling of being truly seen. When she reached him, he took her hands in his. "Ready for our next adventure," he whispered. Serena smiled, thinking of how far they'd come from that mystery dinner, through revelations and paparazzi, doubts and reconciliations, to this moment of certainty. "As long as we're at the same table," she replied. The boat rocked gently beneath them as they exchanged vows, the horizon stretching endless and promising before them, not a fairy tale ending, but a real beginning built on truth, understanding, and the courage to see beyond masks and headlines to the heart of what matters. As the captain pronounced them husband and wife, Serena thought of that first candle-lit table where a billionaire and a bookstore clerk had simply been two people, connecting over conversation. How fitting that their journey had started with one simple instruction: no photos, no press, no expectations, just be present. And in that presence, they had found everything. The end.